ESPN put out their preseason NFL power rankings and also put who they feel is under the most pressure for each team. For me, I look at it in my automatic response. If you just said, hey, which Seahawk has the most pressure on them? Say, well, it's the quarterback. It's always your quarterback, especially your new quarterback, right? The guy you signed to come in here and hopefully be as good as Geno was, be better. Certainly fans are hoping for better, but you know, you don't want to take a step back in that spot, and the quarterback is the most important position on maybe any team in sports. So that would have been my answer. Their answer was K9, Kenneth Walker III, which I think I get it, but does he have the most? I mean, is he under, and it says he's among 6 starters from the Seahawks 2022 draft class who are playing for a new contract. Like many of them, he still has something to prove. When healthy, he's a tough runner, but Walker's missed 10 games in 3 seasons and chunks of the offseason with ankle and foot injuries. And then they talk about Zach Charbonnet being impressive. That's all true. But you could say that about Reek Woolen, not about the injuries, just about, hey, this is a big year for him. He's got something to prove. You say it about Boye Mafe. All these guys are playing for that deal. So I guess he's looking at the depth of that position group, but I disagree with him being the guy with the most pressure. I know he's got a contract. He's going to, if it's not with the Seahawks, he's going to have a job somewhere.
Yeah. Whoever wrote that. Oof. Yeah. Just what an uneducated. Oh wait, it was Brady Henderson.
Is it Brady?
So, we can disagree. I disagree
love Brady,
too. Yeah.
But I disagree with him.
Yep.
It's Sam Darnold. Come on, how is it not Sam Darnold?
I wonder if it was just that was the obvious choice, and they're trying to think of a different thing to throw out there. Because in terms of the Seahawks, and this is me just trying to justify what Brady put, because I agree with you, and my immediate thought was Sam Darnold. But Ken Walker's playing for a contract. Sam Darnold has a contract. We know they can get out of it. So, yeah, the Seahawks could kind of extricate themselves from Darnold's contract. Ken Walker, he's playing for his first big contract.
Right.
And for running backs, it's such a fickle nature of getting paid that you really have to show something. If he doesn't latch on with the Seahawks, is there going to be another team that gives him a multi-year deal? Maybe just like a 1 year,
he'll get a 1 year,
8 year,
prove-it
$8
deal.
million. Yeah, so I get it from that perspective. From pure financial considerations, Ken Walker's got a lot of pressure. But yes,
as well Reek Woolen,
it's Darnold,
well Mafe, Abe Lucas.
Yeah, all the whole 2022 draft class.
Yeah,
they have a ton of pressure on them.
None of them have been extended, right?
No.
So yeah, they're all playing for their next deal. So they all face that looming, hey, am I going to play well enough to get that deal? Whereas all eyes, the spotlights, the conversation, it's not going to center around K9. Even if he's healthy and having a great year, all of the conversation and focus on that side of the ball on the quarterback. That's just the nature of the sport. And it's going to be Sam Darnold, and he knows it. And I appreciate that about him. I get that he, like, we went up, months ago when Adam was in town. Adam Ray was in town and threw out the first pitch, and Mike McDonald was out there, and we went up to the suite, and Sam Darnold was up there with everybody. And they, Adam initially wanted Sam Darnold to go out there and be the reliever when Adam did the fall, and, I can't throw, calls in for the reliever. McDonald comes out. He wanted it to be Darnold. And Darnold said, let me win some games first. Let me win some games. And that right there, I was like, okay, he gets it. I mean, not that it would have been a big deal if he went out and threw out the first pitch. But, just the idea that he's got to come out here and prove something. And he knows that. He understands that. So I think he'd probably point to himself. If you asked him this question, I would think Sam Darnold would say, yeah, it's me. I playing the most consequential position in all of sports, and I'm the new guy. I'm the new kid in class on a new offense, and everybody's looking at me going, all right, what's it going to be? The guy that played the first 16 games or the guy that kind of reverted back on the most consequential games for the Vikings last year at the end of the season?
Yeah, it always boils down to the quarterback. And especially for a guy who's now dealing with the perception of, well, he's probably not the answer. He's not the long-term answer. That's kind of the perception around him for those that point to those final 2 games and to the track record of he bounced around here, he flamed out of New York, he was a backup for a few years. All right, now he had this one good season, but his track record beyond that is just inconsistent. So to deal with all that and still have to answer the question of, with the contract you signed, you have some stability, but it's also easy for your team to get out of that and move past it if it does poorly or if it's not to what they feel their standard is. And it gets back to, as much as we feel confident about this offense and what the run game could be and what the offensive line could look like, if you don't have a quarterback who is capable of winning you games, you don't have anything in the NFL. You're just stuck in that same malaise of 9 to 10 wins, never really breaking free of mediocrity or good to not great. So you have to have a guy that can elevate an offense because at some point, and maybe many times this year, it's going to come down to Sam Darnold needing to put together a 2-minute drive, needing to go down the field and win the game for the Seahawks. And then you can't rely on your run game. You can't rely on steadily and methodically moving the ball down the field. You need your quarterback to take control and seize command of the offense. And that'll be the question that he has to deal with. So, yes, for a quarterback, I would always say there's more pressure on him than a running back or any other position.
Than any other position. Yeah. Any of them.
And, this is kind of a two-part thing. So it was who has the most pressure and where you are in the power rankings. And the Seahawks, I still think they're a lot lower on the national perspective than we feel like here because we've seen the consensus. It was 17 here. The ESPN in their preseason power rankings. 17th. And they had them at 16th right after the draft. So they're still right there. And all these projections have the rest of the division higher up or more talent on every other roster in the division. So the Seahawks, as a team, have to go out and prove that, all right, look, you're not sold on our offense because I think that's where they're getting knocked. But we, as a sum of our parts, are better than the individual star power of the Cardinals that people think have a more talented roster, or the Niners bouncing back after all those injuries, or the Rams dealing with Matt Stafford's bad back.
Yeah, despite pressure, despite what they've got them ranked, all of that, I still look at this team, barring major injury, which is true for any team, and say this is a playoff team. I'll say this: they're a double-digit win team. Is it going to be good enough to get them in the playoffs? We'll see how the rest of the teams around them do. See what the division's like. But I think this is a 10-win team. I think Dave had them at 12.
Did you guys make formal? We can wait until maybe game
I don't think we went game by game, but I think he told me, we both said that we think they're a double-digit win team and that they're going to be a playoff team. But we'll see if they prove us right.
Schedule helps that a little bit, too. I think this is where you get the benefit of the Rams have to play a first-place schedule. I was looking at their first few games. It alternates between very easy because they play 3 of 4 AFC South teams, and then really tough. Eagles, Ravens, Niners in that stretch. So you avoid that.
Their most consequential player, their quarterback's dealing with a bad back, who seems like they're being a little evasive about how bad it is or isn't. Yeah. And, is he going to be full steam ahead in game one? Talking about Matthew Stafford. So, look, we'll see what those teams do. But just when we're looking at this team and we're looking at this roster, and more importantly, what we've seen in a brief setting, and again, preseason, this is a double-digit win team to me, barring major injury to, Witherspoon's out, Darnold gets knocked out, somebody of great consequence isn't available. All right, that alters things. But as we look at a healthy team right now, I would say if they're not a double-digit win team and they remain healthy, I would be very disappointed.
And if they're not, I think we all are in agreement that it's because of the offense. It would be stunning if they're not a double-digit win team because the defense.
If the defense became a liability on some level, and look, the defense is going to have a bad game. That's just, it's like any other sport. They're not going to be just lights out every single game. They're going to have their moments, but I expect by the end of the season we'll be talking about a defense that's in the top 5. Offense, I don't know where they're going to be. We'll see, but overall, I think this is going to be a double-digit win team. I don't think that's drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not saying they're winning the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to be, certainly I think they're going to be better than what the national media seems to be pointing out. There does seem to be a lot of optimism, and I get that there are questions, but we'll see how surprising they are to those guys.